What is up, people? Welcome back to another episode of The Weekly Show. This week, we're going to be talking about Hard MTB, an interesting new event spearheaded by Braden Bringhurst. Atherton Bikes released a new S150. I've been looking for an excuse to talk about Atherton Bikes for a bit, so I think this is a good opportunity to do so. It's kind of a confusing brand to me. Paul Genovesi released a banger this morning on the Ride or Die channel, and then I'll go into another old school mountain bike video recommendation. But let's start with Atherton Bike. So when this brand first launched, I was so fired up, like launching with a DW type design with a really cool manufacturing process, and really the prospect of having custom geometry or a really wide range of sizes was really attractive. As someone who was like looking for geometry that wasn't that common out there, I thought this would be like an excellent solution for that. But as their bikes kept coming out, their offering is like really perplexing from a geometry perspective, especially given that it's supposed to be like this race pedigree bike. The geometry they're coming out with is honestly really outdated. And for having 12 sizes, at least for me, they get none of them right. There's not one size in here that I think is a good fit for me. Yes, they have smaller increments, but like I said, this is just outdated. Like, take a size 8, for example, 485 reach, 435 chainstay, firmly in the unrideable category. And it's got a 64.5-degree head angle, which is like appropriate, I guess, for a 150, 160 mil bike, but I think it could be a lot slacker. And like, these are just numbers you would expect to see on bikes from like 5 years ago. And I don't think I'm really out in left field here. Pink Bike did a review, Henry did, about the S170, which looks to be about damn near the same bike with a little bit more travel. And he had the same critique. I thought that was one of the better reviews Pink Bike's done recently. And he was like, yeah, the geometry just doesn't really stack up to what the bike is capable of. I think it's an excellent suspension system. I really like DW bikes, but there's not one DW bike out there right now that has good geometry. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like Atherton's blowing it, Ibis blowing it, Pivot for the most part blowing it. You know, obviously I'm being critical with that, but like, you know, that's how I see it. It's like not one of these bikes has a balanced geometry for whatever reason. Like the DW Link people love short chainstays. I think a lot of these brands, including Atherton, develop amazing bikes that are held back from their full potential because of the geometry. You know, with Ibis and Pivot, they're not necessarily marketed as race bikes. Yes, they race. You know, Pivot is a little bit more so a race bike with the enduro and downhill team. But I could see, you know, there is an argument for like, oh, we're not designing these bikes for racers. So we have a bit of a different take on geometry. I don't think that's completely right, but I think those brands at least could make that assertion. What's weird with Atherton bikes is with the name and everything, it's like, I feel like these are marketed as high-end race bikes. And for that kind of brand identity to then come out with geometry that I don't think really matches up with that, to me is confusing. And it's interesting to see like the comments on the Pink Bike articles about these bikes. People are like catching on. And honestly, I think it's something that companies are going to need to start paying attention to. It's like people are getting educated. There's more bikes on the market, you know, coming out with, I think, more modern and balanced geometry. And once people ride one of those and recognize that it works for them, I'm not saying it will for everyone. I just think the majority of riders will eventually notice that. I think it's going to be really important for these bikes that they're going to need to get on board with this, or else I think it is going to start affecting sales, because I think the general public is becoming more and more educated on geometry and bike handling. So moving on to Hard MTB. I'm super fired up on this. I think there's this category of rider where they're just in an awkward spot, and I don't feel like there's really a platform. It's this like semi-slalom specialist, like it's just kind of like a skills rider. And everyone that was at this race kind of falls into that category. And it's riders like Mitch Rappoletto, Braden Bringhurst, you know, even like Kyle Straight, Shreddy Reynolds, you know, a few of these guys where they have an amazing skill set on the bike, but I feel like they don't exactly have a place to let it shine. You know, there's the odd slalom race and one-off event, but generally I feel like the mountain bike world is at a disservice for not seeing more of these riders. And I mean, people like Mitch Rupoletto, I've watched him ride enough in person, and it's like, it's absolutely mind-melting what that dude can do on a bike. So to give riders in this category a platform to show their skills on a funky track and have something that's just like new, exciting, and engaging. I feel like the event from the riding perspective is really compelling, but you go to the marketing and event side of things, and I think this is an awesome setup to have really easy to make content, easy spectating for live events, and I think they're really onto something here. I'm really excited to see where this goes. There's talk about multiple stops next year, and I think this could really turn into something legit. Yeah, props to Braden for kind of spearheading this, taking the time, effort, and I'm sure a lot of money to make it happen. But that dude's really cool. I really fuck with Braden. It seems like he has a really cool vision for mountain biking, and I think he's really carved out a cool path for himself, and now he's kind of using his creative vision to give a platform for other riders who I think will end up making like a lot of really cool shit happen with this series. And I like the name, Hard MTB, like make MTB hard again. I like the ethos in this event, like throwing off-camber logs in the worst part of the corners. Like, let's see these riders ride stuff that's fucked up. I kind of like that this event isn't for the masses, you know? We don't need a Cat 3 Hard MTB. It's like, let's see the best riders in the world ride some really technical, hard stuff. All right, moving on to some mountain bike video stuff. Paul Genovesi dropped another banger, dude. This guy is one of my favorite riders, and it seems like every year he drops a video part that is hard as fuck. Like, this dude is super core, and I don't know, I just really mess with his style and how he puts together his videos. You know, I'm a sucker for the zoom cam, and I think the way he integrates the zoom camera with slow-mo and like higher quality stationary shots just gives you a really good sense of what he's doing and the size of the features. That's one thing that I really like about his videos is, dude, this guy goes big, like, and does a really like smart selection of tricks, a really creative selection of tricks on big features that end up working really well together. And the first shot in this video got me so fired up, like just a huge gap and does a clicked like shoulder buzz table on it. It's super refreshing, and like I feel like big free ride moves like that were really common, and edits in general were really common back when I was getting into mountain biking. So for someone to just like drop an edit that's well done but isn't like this overly produced thing, and it's like independently created, matched with a good song, I don't know, it just like checks all the boxes for me. Slope style riding isn't something that really gets me fired up, but seeing like a really smart selection of tricks on big dynamic features got me like fired up to ride my bike even though it's pissing rain outside. But yeah, I just really like Paul's style and how he executes a video as a package. I just think there's a smaller and smaller number of videos that really get me fired up and speak to me these days, and yeah, this one checked the boxes. So big fan of Paul. Go check out the video and all of his other edits that he's dropped over the past couple years. Like, they all go hard as fuck. So yeah, keep it up, Paul. That got me stoked. And while we're on the topic of video stuff, we'll touch on the old school mountain bike lore video of the week, I guess. we could call it that. But this one's not even an edit. It's a bike release, and that's for the 2013 Scott Gambler, the 26-inch one with the crazy knuckle linkage. This one's done by Clay Porter. There's not that many videos that I've watched that had made me want a bike that bad. And this has some of the most horny slow-mos of Brendan doing Brendog shit, like back wheel landers, absolutely railing corners. And back in the day, you know, quality slow-mo clips that were like tastefully edited were really rare. There were probably only a handful of filmers that even had the cameras to do this at that time. Now, like every other film kid has a Red. That scene is like incredibly saturated, but back here, like seeing these tight slow-mo shots that Clay is famous for was just like a real treat. And then Brendog's riding just like completely complements it, and just the insane TLD kits, the Sam Hills, everything about this is nostalgic and how I envision myself riding a downhill bike. But I know it's never even close to this. One thing that's interesting is that like Brendan always ran his seat super high, which is like kind of steez, and it allowed him to just like sit down everywhere. Like the Brendan sit down, like Sam Hill did this too. I think he ran his seat really high, is like so sick. If you're just cruising and it's like the lazy sit down pedal is like such a steezy move. I don't think he really does it in this video. I think I'll try and find a clip of like Sam and Brendan doing that, but like that's not something you see very often. And the way in which he's able to ride this 26-inch wheel downhill bike, I don't know. It really just don't look like that anymore. People are way more over the front, and it's harder to put the bike in these sorts of shapes that he's getting it into that just looks so good. And I don't know, I'm interested to see like where the scene of like the mountain bike video production and like edits kind of go in the next 5 to 10 years. I was just hanging out with a lot of the friends I used to ride with. It's like all of us made edits. You know, we didn't have phones, so it's like we had to either get our GoPro or our shitty DSLR camera, and we have dozens of shitty mountain bike edits. A lot of those people that made like these wacky little edits back in the day have gone on to be some of like the big players in the mountain bike media landscape. And right now with kids kind of coming up, it's like, I don't really see a lot of edits from the younger generation. There's a few outliers, but everyone has an iPhone, and it's like immediately rewarding to post an Instagram clip. So there isn't really an incentive to put together like a longer video. I think there's a greater number of very high-end, high production videos, but all in all, I think as far as like just bike riding edits are far less common as they were when I was getting into riding. I'm not sure if there's the taste and passion for creating, you know, just straight up mountain bike videos as there was when I was growing up, because there was an incentive to do so. If you wanted to see mountain bike riding or create mountain bike riding videos, you know, you had to do more than just go on Instagram. So the whole landscape has changed, and I'm just commenting on this because I think there's just a smaller amount of videos that get me really stoked to ride, and you know, Paul Genovesi's video is an exception to that. I feel like there were more of those type of videos 10 years ago, but you know, maybe I'm missing something. I'm just not seeing much in that genre these days. I think the level that the high-end videos have gotten to have kind of dissuaded a number of people, you know, including myself at times, from like making videos that are good but like aren't gonna be at that level. You know, it's like if you can't compete with like the big dogs now, it's like what's the point almost? And I think it was much easier to get paid and carve out a little niche in the video world when the minimum level of entry wasn't like a Red camera. You know, I try and keep it alive with Zoom cam videos that I think still land really hard without having the like biggest production value, and are still like fairly easy and approachable and feasible to make. But You know, I've tried it myself. There just isn't like a huge market for that type of videos. And if someone is wanting to put money into a video, right now the expectation is the production value needs to be like incredibly high. So, which I think has resulted in a lot less like medium to high quality videos that just aren't at that like top level standard. But I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna keep making them because I really enjoy it, and I would enjoy to see more of them on the other end too. You know, speaking of old school videos, I've started to post some throwback videos on my second channel, as well as some kayaking videos. It's raining right now, the rivers are coming up. So if you're interested in throwbacks and kind of some of the other stuff I got going on, check out the second channel. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.